Chapter 7. Appleheads. Room 105. But there was no room 105. I walked out to my car, but there was no Rombo combo in it. In the trunk. Had I imagined it at all? I walked up to where my room was, but there was no room 420. I could hear bands playing from my room. My head was spinning. Are you coming, brother? I got a golf cart for you. The path can get kind of bumpy. I got dressed, and my arthritis was not bugging me at all. Wow, nice bed. I must have really crashed hard. Did you eat? Ann asked. No, not yet. I just woke up. Well, I left you food. I opened the fridge, and there was food. I examined it. No worms. What are you doing? What are you looking for? Nothing, man. Don't worry about it. I ate well and got full very fast. I got ready, we smoked, and left. The sun was high in the sky, not too hot. Walked behind the motel to a path that was extremely well maintained. No, not at all like the path I had taken. I saw Jacob. Hey, Jacob, I said. You must be James. Anthony told us you were coming. I hope you join us. No promises, I replied. I have a wife and several cats at home. We'll see, I said, with a wink. Jacob skipped down the path. Aunt had a pink golf cart with white pleather seats. The path was steep, but okay. I felt like we were on a cloud riding down the hill. But it was way better than the hike I had the other day, or I guess it was in my dream. We got to the bottom of the path quick. The path opened up to a big field with a school off in the distance, just like before. I said to Aunt, I had a really weird dream about this place. He said it's normal for the adjustment protocol. What's that? He said it's normal, don't sweat it. Everyone had on crystals. When we got down to the town in the golf cart, I saw a huge crystal. I looked down and I noticed I was wearing one too. Like the one was in the sea. This huge crystal, and it was pulsating with blue color, just like the one in my dream. But this one was in the dirt. It was buried in it, like it had been there for 1,000 years, and glowed blue light, so bright. It was like looking at the sun. What the glow? Aunt replied, odd. Yeah, they found it in Australia on a dig. They opened a huge chasm and crystals were everywhere. They harvested them and made these necklaces. Cool. And this one, I don't know where I want to, I don't know where, but I want you to meet someone. This is Sheila. I kind of like her, so don't fuck it up for me, okay? Sheila was 5'5", long blonde hair, dyed in a rainbow. She was wearing hippie garb, had a necklace on. She had a tattoo on her chest of a happy sun with blue eyes. She was wearing face paint. She didn't speak to me, just gave me an odd stare and whispered in Aunt's ear. Bitch, how rude, I thought. And she left. What's up with your chick? Not even a hello. What do you mean, Aunt said. She welcomed you here and gave you a big hug. I said, dude, don't fuck this up for me. Okay. Molly, he got to be high on Molly. I saw a big pile of it, thinking to myself. I walked into the school and got to the pot room and grabbed some weed. Aunt was like, cool, you found this place. Sheila returned with a girlfriend. This is Linda. She will be your guide. We need Aunt in the sanctum. Sanctum, what's that? I began to follow Aunt as he left the room, and Linda put her hand on my chest. It's not your time yet. When it's your time, I'll bring you, okay? Then we heard a very loud bell. Ah, she said, blessed be. She then explained the working of the Shrillfest group, how they had found the abandoned town and they had bought it off the state, how they lived there year-round, and how they found a series of caves that they were able to successfully grow more of their crystals there, and that the area was called the Inner Sanctum. Aunt had gone there for the first time for First Communion to make his bond with the family more strong. Permanent, she said. Permanent, that's kind of creepy. I said, okay, but it feels kind of creepy. Linda asked, "Can you hear me?" "Yes, I can hear you fine," which I thought was odd because my hearing is shot the fuck out after so many years in the studio. "I'm lucky. I can hear myself think." "No, in your mind can you hear me?" Why would I said. She frowned and touched my crystal, and I heard her in my mind for a second. But the comms hurt in my mind like a split-second migraine. She looked angry almost. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Nothing, it's okay, but you might need a bigger crystal. Have you eaten today?" "Why, yes, I had food that Ann had left in my fridge in my room." "Not refrigerated." "Can't eat it that way. You have to have it fresh." "Okay." We walked to the pavilion. There she collected an assortment of food for me to eat. I ate while she watched. I felt her hand on my leg. I had to remove it. "What?" she replied. "I'm not good enough for you?" "No, it's not that at all. It's I'm married." "Where's your wife?" "She's on a cruise in the Caribbean." "Well, it should be okay. She's not here." I said, "I appreciate what you're saying, but I would know what I did. I'm not a cheater." She smiled, but wasn't appreciative, and the touching began again. This time I heard something in my mind, a whisper. At first it faded, then thoughts and memories flashed in my mind, and it all went black. I woke up, and I was in a tent next to a naked Linda. I was also naked. Oh boy, is Panda gonna be mad at me. I can hear her in my mind right now. Man whore! I stepped out and saw a bunch of people standing around a crystal holding hands and spinning in a circle, and their necklaces were glowing and the crystals were glowing. I saw Sheila, but no Anthony. I asked, "Where's Aunt?" She said, "It's none of your business." "But he isn't feeling well." I grabbed her arm. "Where's my friend?" Linda put her hand on my shoulder and I blacked out again. I woke up in the tent, but the bed hurt to lay on. But I realized it wasn't a bed, it was a stone slab. And Aunt was there. He was all puffy, with worms coming out of his eyes and ears. I reached out to him, but it was odd looking. I was in an odd looking jelly sack. I didn't notice it until I moved. I scratched and bit my way free and got out. My hands were cold and wet. He was sleeping, but I don't know how his crystal was glowing very brightly. And Sheila was there too, standing over him, staring at an odd-looking device with flashing colors. She seemed to not notice my movements. Linda was here too. She was dead. Or at least she seemed dead. Her skin was black with black lines. It looked like septicemia. She was cold to the touch. I started to really freak out. The room was spinning, and there seemed to be like it was flashing. One moment I was there, then I was in my room, still another. I was passed out in the food coma tent, all flashing like a simulation, confused. My crystal was also flashing, I noticed, with a large crack in it. I pulled it off and threw it on the floor. The flashing stopped, but I began to retch. Hard, first dry heaves, then hardcore puke. Some blood, a ton of white worms. They came out, more and more, from my eyes, my ears. It was as if I was crying them out. And as they left, I got colder and colder. I should have been able to see my breath. Oh! I fell to the floor. I think I lost consciousness for a second on the stone floor. The floor was cold and wet. The worms squirmed in all directions. A huge amount of them covered my necklace on the floor. The worms all connected together to form a big tentacle with hairs on it, and it pulsated. The hairs flattened out on the tips into flat plates. The tentacle had a mouth. It grew eyes. The whole thing glowed blue, and it slithered away from me, like as if I was a fire, and it slithered away. Was this thing inside me? I woke up with no sense of time. The room was dark and it sounded like a large cat purring. In fact, there were thousands of cats all over the place and similar jelly sacks purring. An ant turned grayish. I reached into his jelly sack to free him. The jelly felt like acid to my hands. I withdrew them, and his color was even more gray, like the jelly was digesting him. In another chamber, I saw the entirety of the cavern. The walls were stone, unremarkable. There was a lattice of living things growing from big orifices in the ceiling. There was a stone altar with people laying on it. I approached it, being careful not to arouse suspicion. The other patrons I had seen, they were all here. Jacob was here too, in a jelly sack with worms leaving and entering through every hole in his body. He was also wincing like he was in pain. I tried to help him. I reached into his jelly sack to pull off his necklace. He screamed, I guess 'cause all I saw were bubbles in the jelly sack. Then blood, lots and lots of blood. He was dissolved by the jelly. I reached him to pull him out, but his arm came free, and I fell on the ground holding his severed arm with a bone was full of worms, arteries filled, and it turned to dust in my hands. The bloody dust was all over me. My heart was pounding now so much I could hear it in my head, in my arms. I could feel tingling. It was at that moment I realized two things. One, I was either having a heart attack or a panic attack, and I was in some sort of nest. Breathe. Just breathe, Amanda would say. Whenever I had a panic attack, I breathed. And there was no alarms, no nothing. When I stood up, the jelly sack was empty. Clear fluid, no blood, nothing, just empty. I made my way to the altar. Anthony was lying there, but he looked odd. He was naked and had some lines on his skin like Linda, but these ones were green. I examined the slab he was laying on, and it appeared as though the green hairs were growing out of the table he was laying on. I tried to wake him. He opened his eyes and began to cry. Shh, shh, they'll hear you. I'm going to get you out of here. You can't, he replied. I'm not me. This isn't me. I'm somewhere else, and it hurts there. The jelly sack, I said. I'll get you. You can't, he replied. I'm so sorry, James. I didn't know. I'm sorry I got you into this. Run, he said. Just run. Get out of here, please, he begged me. He swiveled his head to a box of amethyst crystals. Take one, but don't dip it. Take one and run, please. I don't want this to happen to you. Say Pan to James, please. I'm begging you. How can I help? Appleheads, he responded. Appleheads. Break the covenant. Appleheads, he said as he fell asleep again. But for the second, and woke up. If you see me, it's not me. Please, please, my brother, run. I left him and walked to the pile of purple crystal points and took one and wrapped it in wire and I found and put it on. Appleheads was a code for pot. So something in the pot room? I managed my way up and up and up. There were jelly sacks all over the walls, some full, others empty, and still others dry and crystallizing. What is this place, I wondered. I saw a light streaming in rays. I crawled out on my knees. They were killing me. So was my back, but I made it to the surface.